Boom, boom. Just like that, we're live. Just like that, we're live. Hey, everybody. Super happy that you're here with me. Peter Clark, Red TV, in conversation. We are live, and you right there. Thank you for joining me today. Super appreciate that. If you're the first time here, super welcome to you. If you're back, you already know what you're in for. So I super appreciate that you're coming back for it. So I really love that. We are live out there. We're live, everybody, on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Twitch and, anything.com, what the kids are doing today. We're probably out there doing that. I'm pretty pumped today. You know that, right? I mean, when I do this stuff, I'm pumped all the time. I'm super pumped, but I love talking to people that are just anomalies. So I think she's going to appreciate that I said that. And she's such a great supporter for the show and for everything that I've been doing on LinkedIn specifically. So I thank her for that. And the reason why I know that is because, believe it or not, she's only on LinkedIn. So people here on LinkedIn, you're getting an exclusive right here. She's only on LinkedIn. No, not even a website. I mean, unbelievable, but 75,000 followers. So she's doing something right now. So international coach, that's what she is. International Coach Federation, professional certified coach, DISC assessment certified coach, by the way, conversational intelligence, intelligence. You're going to find out a lot about that. Body language trainer. Man, I don't know if she watched my show before. Body language is an accent modification instructor. I'm trying to get everything in here. Voice therapist, which I'm really concerned about because I'm thinking that I already know what her little idiosyncrasies are. Medical speech language pathologist. Try to say that 4 times. It's unbelievable. But don't let any of that fool you, because you know what? Deep down, she calls herself an insatiable nerd. She said that. I didn't say that. That's what she said. She's insatiable. Will you welcome everybody? Elaine, Jacques, how are you?
I'm great, Peter. Thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I'm blushing over here.
You're all of that. You're all of that and more. It's fantastic. It's so good to see you. It's so unbelievable. May I say, by the way, I'm a hair guy. You know that. You got rock and roll hair. Love your hair. That's rock star stuff. That's rock star stuff. I just love it. I really appreciate you being here. I just think most of them, I mean, there's so much more to it could go on forever, but I want to get to the show because we got so much to cover, everybody. First of all, I need to ask you right away, first of all, just health and safety. Everyone okay? You good? Everyone healthy? Everyone in your life, everyone okay?
Yes, fully vaccinated, super happy, just waiting to wear the numbers off my passport. Traveling again. So
me too. Oh my gosh, I've been posting about that a lot. I cannot wait to jump back on a plane and go see and my first trip is going to go see my dad. So I want to go see my dad. That's for number one. That's for sure. So super appreciate that. Again, you taking the time out and doing that. Hey, we'll jump right away for everyone on LinkedIn. She's only on LinkedIn. I can't believe that about you. But I'm going to put up your connection point. So I hope everyone can see that right there to reach out to Elaine. Have conversation, connect, see if what resonates with you and all that kind of stuff. Why, I'm just curious. No, not even a website. I mean, I got to get you a website somehow. Anyone out there, by the way, reach out to her, offer her a website, would you, for goodness sake? But is that strategic for you, or you just don't even want a website? No. I'm just curious.
I'm too shy. That's what I said.
Oh, come on.
I'm too shy to have a website. No, I actually, my tentative foray into social media happened with my speech pathology career coming to an end because I'm going to say this as delicately as I can, because some of the patients that I worked with were mentally unstable for personal safety reasons, because I'm tall and, as aforementioned, have quite a bit of recognizable hair. I haven't ever had an online presence, so getting onto LinkedIn was a big deal for me. And it has been my foray, and I'm warming up to this whole idea. So I am a LinkedIn only lady.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. Just, by the way, I mean, and I don't want to make fun of that. That's actually a big issue for a lot of people out there right now. Not just their jobs, but personal relationships and other things that go in a different direction. They need not necessarily to have that footprint that we're just talking about. So that's something I don't want to joke too much about, because there is a connection point, like you said, between mental health and wellness and safety and security. So well put. But bottom line, everybody, right there, if you want to connect with her, she is here on LinkedIn and so on. I just wanted to, hey, and while we're starting this, let's get going here. There's so many people here that are already in the show watching this, like Rhonda. Rhonda's a rock star. I mean, she always is tuning in, so I super appreciate. I don't know why this guy's even watching right now. He is actually not doing well, and I'm sending my best to you, Tim. I so appreciate you tuning in, but man, get some rest, brother. Get some rest. I want you to get rest. If this brings you some joy, I'm so glad that you're here. So I appreciate that. See, even Rhonda's worried about him. Look, how you feeling? So just want to throw that out there right there. So I appreciate that. Mr. Brian Schulman, I don't know if you know this gentleman.
Yeah, yes, I do. I've actually met him in person.
Come on.
I gave him a redhead look.
I saw this. Was it a picture of something?
Yes.
I think I see. Yes, I seen that.
Yes, we went to New York together for my very first networking event. I flew across the country because meeting people too close to me was too scary. So he and I flew across from California too.
Look at that! See, there he is, right? So there you go. I forgot about that. I remember that picture now that you say that, and all that kind of stuff. And there you go. Look, shining your bright lights. It was incredible.
I'm going to be blushing twice as much.
Yeah, it's all good. Andrea, do you know Andrea? You know Andrea, don't you?
So
Andrea from Houston.
Andrea, if I don't, I'm sorry.
Andrea's go and check her out. She's like a rock star. She's so awesome. Everyone here is so awesome. I love this stuff, you guys. I'm just going through a quick shout out to everybody. Seriously, hey, right back at you, brother. Appreciate that. All that kind of stuff. Nerds rock. I love that. That's right. She calls herself a nerd. I didn't make that up. So hey, look at this person. Do you know this person is actually related to me? I haven't seen her in a long time. 𝘄𝗶𝘃𝗵. So good to see you. 𝘄𝗶𝘃𝗵, I just want to throw that out there because I love that. And look at this. Do you know Melody? Melody from Massachusetts. She got the coolest accent. She got that Boston accent.
Yes.
Come on.
Love that.
With that. It's like her, I just love that accent. But she is a rock star too. So all you listen, everyone tuning in, I super appreciate it. Maddie, good to see you, my friend. Maddie's in Calgary. He's a leadership and executive coach, by the way. So I think that's why he's probably tuning in, because of course your title is all of those things. So it's all that kind of stuff. And see, I told her she loves hair too. So there we go. Nice. Hey, what can we say? Mine's a rental. That one over there, that's the real thing. That's the real thing. We got so much to cover. And listen, I just want to get this out of the way right away, because I know you have all kinds of little ticks and idiosyncrasies, and I got to get it out of the way right now. Okay. I know you've seen my show before. So I know you're a body language person. We're going to get into all of this, everybody, but I'm just getting it up front here to get it out of the way for me, because I don't want it on my mind. Okay. It's just not coming on my mind. First of all, I'm not hiding anything when I'm doing this with you. Okay. I always just so you know. I'm not hiding. That's what I do. Okay. Just so you know that. Okay. I always enunciate as best I can, but if the odd one comes through my nose without an M, N, or NG, I'm sorry about that. It just happens, but it's not going to happen too much tonight. So I just want to tell you that right up front. So because I was thinking, like, did you ever watch my show? I'm always like this. And she's like, I heard you say something like, I saw this guy on a podcast, and I had to tell him, and I was thinking, is she talking about me? But hey, listen, I'm just sharing all that up front. Let's get going. Here we got to go. Listen, I love everything you do about this you and 1% today. So let's just start there for people that don't know too much about exactly what you do. You're obviously a leadership. You do leadership development and presence and so on. But talk about this you plus one today. What exactly just is that? I love that concept. But just walk us through what that means to you and what it means to somebody who's engaging with you right now.
Okay, well, thank you. That's an awesome, wonderful question. I appreciate that. So you plus 1% today is my take on the Kaizen principle of continuous improvement. So it's taking you, how you are right now, and saying, what's that 1% that we can add today, not the someday that never shows up on your calendar. And then, of course, the second part of my tagline is become even more amazing, because I like for people to know inherently when they see my tagline that I already think you're amazing. You've gotten where you are in life because of who you are and all the things that you've gone through and survived and thrived through. And so how can we work together, adding that 1% to help you become even more amazing?
See, I love that. Love that a lot. And I forgot to do one more thing before we said that about the putting a hand in the mouth and stuff like that. I know you're always saying, got to look in the camera. Now I know the camera's right there. I know that. But you know I produce this show. There's no one here with me. You know that, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff going on. So my eyes might wander, but I'm watching you as much as I can. I'm looking right at you. I got you right there. I know where you're going. Don't you worry about that. So I just want to get all that out of the way, everybody, because she knows what I'm talking about. She knows that's why she's chuckling. It's all good. So that's what I love. I love become even more amazing. And you're right about that 1%. I often use the analogy, and I don't golf a lot, but my friends who golf and stuff, it's just that 1 degree of on your when you hit the ball. 1 degree, you know, a couple feet out is not that much difference, but 1 degree out 300 or 400 yards. Big difference. So I know what you mean by the 1%. I think that's a fantastic way to kind of position yourself when you're talking about leaders. And you do that. This is what I want to talk about right now. I'm going to ask you a very simple question because I've asked so many different people across all of my interviews from all different verticals of business, whether they're in professional music or sports or they lead companies, whatever it is. So this is why I want to ask you, because that's what you deal with. You work with a lot of leaders from around the world and coaches and so on. Let's talk about the word leadership. What is leadership to you? What does that mean to you? What's the definition of that as far as you're concerned when it says, what is leadership?
Oh, I love this question. And no, of course, I'm desperately trying to think of one of my favorite quotes that I apparently never can remember when it comes down to this. But I love the quote that says, if you inspire people, if you help them to believe in themselves, and I'm botching it terribly, but you are a leader. So to me, leadership is saying, I'm going to reach behind me, in front of me, to the side of me, to lift other people up and to help them do whatever that they are trying to do better, easier, faster. That's a leader.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily, let me read into that. It's not necessarily a title then, obviously, right? No, nothing to do with title. And I agree with that. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people that are given the title leaders have no business doing it. And there's some people that have no title, whether, you know, VP, manager, whatever, and they lead by example. I always use the idea of that as example and so on. Let's talk about that. I mean, you deal with a lot of leaders. I mean, and I know that you coach people from around the world, so you have a global perspective, which is fantastic. What are some of the traits? What are some of the traits that stand out for you when it comes to being a great leader? Give me a few things that you've recognized, maybe with some people that you've worked with or that you think about when you think of a great leader.
I apparently have a very strong penchant for quotes, but and this one comes from Maya Angelou, and she said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And of course, there's a lot that goes into that: emotional intelligence and empathy and compassion and empowerment, all of those things kind of balled up into that quote, which says, when people know that you truly value them, when you truly care about them, then to me, you are an amazing leader.
Yeah. Listen, you're singing to the choir here now. Like, I'm a super empathetic person. So, you know, when people care about something, other people, they care about a cause, they care about people. It's recognizable. It's instantly, you can feel it. There's an energy there. And you're absolutely right. I mean, when a leader actually takes the time to really worry about your success as much as their own, or maybe the organizations or the, you know, or the business. So I'm using business terms right now, but you're absolutely right. When you demonstrate that you care, I think that is a powerful empathy and compassion and so on. Those are powerful traits for leaders. There's no doubt about that. What's interesting about your business, from what I can tell, again, this is the first time we've met, everybody, so this is what's so fascinating. I know of you, but this is the first time we had a chance to chat, so I love this. You know, you talk about leadership presence. That's some of your the work that you do. What I heard you say I've researched a little bit and found you talking the difference between leadership and executive, and I like that. And the reason why is because a few years ago, a friend of mine had a program that he presented to executives, and it was called Executive Presence. And I went back in my memory bank and went through what we talked about during executive presence versus you refer to as leadership presence. So talk to me about that distinction between leadership presence and executive presence. What's the difference for you, and how do you describe that?
Well, part of it is just so that people who aren't necessarily C-suite executives will know that I'm still very happy to work with them. So that was part of the reason for picking leadership presence rather than executive presence. was just simply, again, my view on that you're a leader if you're trying and you're helping and you're lifting people up. So that's why I chose leadership presence. So there would be a lot of people who would say it's one and the same. It's working on the same kinds of things to present yourself better, and how you want to come across, and the kinds of empathy and compassion, all of those things that we've just talked about that you want to emulate to other people. So, but without necessarily the C-suite title to go with that, if I can make that very tiny distinction.
That's a big distinction. That's a huge distinction, because again, you can find leaders, well, you normally do, by the way, you normally do find the leaders on the very front line, for example. I mean, it's, you know, when you talk about large companies and so on, it's the people that are on the front lines. They're actually in the call centers. They're the ones taking the phone calls. They're the ones meeting the customers face to face. They don't have a C-suite title necessarily, but they certainly are, you know, leaders, because they're representing the brand face to face. So I know what you mean by that. And again, but executives don't. I know that you deal with some executives as well. They appreciate that distinction. They don't think to themselves, well, actually, I'm a vice president, I'm a president, and they think that that's different. Do you find that, or is that?
I have not found that. I have not found that. I'm guessing the reason why I kind of smiled there is I'm guessing there are people for whom perhaps that's offensive, that they would like for someone who solely focuses on executives, and that's fine. And for them, there are plenty of people who focus solely on executives, and I would invite them to find someone who works really well with them and for them.
That's a great way to put it. You know, I'm funny about that. I smile at that too, because, and I mean this in the kindest way, but I've had so many conversations with offline with C-suites, and they always, I mention this to them all the time, but I always say to them, like, and I don't have one in front of me, like a business card, but I always ask them, I always say, you know, you're a VP of this or VP of that with that big logo behind you. Now, if I took that card away from you and your title, who are you? What are you bringing here? What's the value here? And they look at me like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you, like, what is this? And they're like, wow, never thought of it like that. And I always try to remind people that it's nice to have a big title, and it's all that kind of, call yourself an executive. That's super cool. Happy for you. But don't get it confused with who you are, you know, with what you do. Some people think, and, you know, it's funny how they just, you know, they describe themselves with what they do. Anyway, I'm rambling on because I'm so excited to chat with you. And this is what happens when I get excited. I talk too much. Let's move along here. What's fantastic about all the things that you do? So, and it hasn't, believe me, it hasn't escaped my mind since I've been starting to speak with you, which is that you have a background in speech language pathology. You know, so even for me to say that has been a great accomplishment for me, pathologist. You know, you did that for 16 plus years, so people can reach out to you on LinkedIn and learn a little bit more about that. But what I found fascinating is that you worked with a lot of people that were near end of, you know, basically near end of life, sometimes in hospice situations and things like that. And I think you even mentioned in your LinkedIn profile, you think you call that one of your superpowers, your ability to, you know, basically stay calm and effectively communicate during these very stressful times. And I've been in a hospice before. I know that that feeling that you're referring to. I'm wondering if you could share with us what have you learned in those experiences? What did you learn about people who were near end of life that you actually use today in helping develop leaders? Or anything that stands out for you?
Well, I will say, and this is meant, I just want to front it with, it is an honor to be a part of patients' lives, to have their families appreciate your part of that chapter in their lives. So this is with all due respect. When I have been working with executives who, albeit with all due respect to them as well, have gotten very, very excited, shall we say, about a decision that needs to be made. And they can at times work themselves up into a high blood pressure moment. And so there are times where I will draw on my hospital experience and I will say, okay, is anyone going to die from this decision? And I have found that it does give me a bit of perhaps a darker sense of humor or a darker sense of perspective on some things, to say that, yeah, you know what, millions of dollars are on the line, but is anyone actually going to drop over dead from this decision? And if the answer is no, then maybe we can take a break and recognize this isn't the intensive care unit. at a hospital, there isn't a machine beeping at a weird cadence that indicates death is imminent. And so perhaps we can take a breath and just get a new perspective on it and say, how can we move forward instead of getting stuck in panic mode?
Yeah. Do you find, and I appreciate you saying it that way, because, and I took it the way you meant it. I hope everyone did, which is, you know, we're not belittling big decisions. Of course, when there's big decisions and people's lives and jobs and these kinds of, business lives are on the line, things like that. I'm not suggesting that's not important. But like you said, when it comes right down to life or death, I mean, you start thinking when you sit next to somebody in a hospice and so on, are there things that you can remember from that you think that you bring forward? Does it help you with your empathy? Does it help you with how you deal with some of these leaders to remind them that, again, you know, all the things we're talking about right now, we want you to be better and all these, I want you to improve, but let's keep everything in perspective. Do they appreciate that? That's what I'm getting at, that you've learned this, and does it connect? I mean, just explain and share that with me if you can.
I think one of the other things that I have drawn from my hospital work is just that sense of how important people are, rather than the numbers, that your team, your people, your family, yourself, your own health is so important, that I have seen in real life in front of my face, people who have said, you know, I have spent every second in the office and I've trashed my health to get where I am. And now I have all this money and there's no one standing at my bedside except for you. And that was not meant as a disrespect to me, but it was true that their family, they had alienated their family. They had alienated anyone who could possibly have cared about them. And so at their last moments, yes, they had tons of money in the bank, but it was never going to buy back their health. So there's a quote that, of course, I'm gently paraphrasing, and that is, you know, that you can spend your health to get wealth, but then you're going to spend all of your wealth trying to get back your health. And I'm going to tell you, it's generally not possible to buy it back. No matter how much money you have, the best medical care, the best hospitals, the best doctors, if you trash your health because of trying to build wealth, you're not going to get it back. And so that is something that I do very strongly encourage. And for people who are gracious enough to follow me, they know that at least once a week, I will comment, post, make reference to taking care of yourself, the self-care, because I do think it's that important that we recognize that if you don't, I'm no longer in speech pathology, and I don't know of any speech therapist who says, oh, please, let's have more patients who've had strokes because their blood pressure has been too high for too long and they didn't take care of themselves. Right. Would love to be put out of a job in that regard.
Yes, exactly. No, listen, hey, you painted a very, very powerful image. And I think we've heard metaphors to that effect multiple times, I'm sure, in posts and so on. But to your point is that when you don't have your health, man, life is just different. It's so different. It's so challenging. Nothing worse than obviously mental health and wellness and physical health, and then of course financial health. I understand that they're very related today, obviously, these days. That's for sure. So no, I appreciate you painting that picture, and it's really, really important for us to kind of remind that mental health issues and all those things that are happening right now in the world. It's so important. Hey, and again, we just mentioned Tim, for example, Tim Sohn, who's watching the show and so on. Hey, it's you wish him well and you want him to get better, because again, it doesn't matter what your business is. When you can't do what you love to do, or feel like you're contributing, there's something like I said, you can't buy that back. So I appreciate you sharing it like that. I'm just going to go back to some comments. So many comments here. Pat Lepovsky, see that gentleman right there? He's actually the gentleman. How you doing, Patty? Patty's the gentleman that had a program. He probably still has it, called Executive Presence. So that's why I was distinguishing between leadership presence and executive. He's also a leadership coach and so on, international experiences and all of his clients and so on. Well said. See, people are awesome. There you go. Look at that. I love you. I'm trying to be me, Rhonda. I swear. It's so hard to be me.
He's doing great.
It's so hard to be me. It's just crazy. It's so hard. Love this. Like I said, wonderful. Andrew talks about the wonderful definition of leadership. Absolutely. That's about the caring part. There's no doubt about that. We must connect. So there you go. Right. So it's all good. Let's see. There's all
I like to say I'm a word nerd.
Oh, there you go. Daniel, as a dad of 6 special needs children. Okay, I got to read this. Here we go. Special needs children. Leadership is communicating others' worth and potential. So very true. Great leaders inspire people to do great things. So clearly, that they are inspired to see it in themselves. This type of leadership is so infectious, and that's true. I know that there's so many people that are watching this show right now. We talked about Brian Shulman and some of the things that he does on his show. When you're inspiring people just to kind of lift up and be better, I think that's a great leadership trait. I couldn't agree more. So it's fantastic. So many great comments here. I just love this stuff. And Rhonda's throwing the definition of leadership is involved in beautiful humanistic space for many organizations. That's very true. But more work to be done in this field. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we're watching, actually. I think over the last 15 to 18 months, and as we move forward for the next 18 months, we're going to see this all play out. I really believe that as well. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Here's a whole bunch of stuff. Hey, Con. I just met this Coach Con. Do you know Coach Con?
I do.
I just met him for the first time today. I swear I didn't know. I feel bad to say that, but I did not know who he was. But I heard someone say Coach Con. I was like, whoa. And you talk about a voice. Have you, right?
Yes.
Whoa. Right?
Yes.
If I had a voice like that, I'd run probably a really good chunk of the earth right now if I had a voice like that. I just would. With a voice like that. I love this. Thank you for sharing, Elaine, and the world, Peter. She is such a gifted coach and consultant and even more amazing person. I mean, that is beautiful. God, that just brought a tear to my eye. I love that. There you go. I love this. There's Beth. Always good to see Beth. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate that. Melody, again, I so appreciate you always being here and so on. I'm just glancing through everybody. I hope you guys are doing good. Hey, anytime someone calls me amazing, I'm trying to be better at this. So I'm going to say thank you. That's what I'm going to try to say.
Very good.
Humility does not serve me very well. That is for sure. Yes, we definitely want to send healing out to Tim. We definitely want to do that. Okay, everybody. So it's really, really important we do that. And look at this. Steve Podmore. I don't know if you know this gentleman. Do you know this gentleman?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll tell you what. He said, loving this after my clubhouse room. Great work. I appreciate that, Steve. Steve, he's got a little tiny idea. Here's what he wants to do. He wants to create a new World Bank. Yes. Oh my goodness. You got to go check out what this guy's doing. Anyway, Steve, so appreciate you being here. But listen, anyone who has a big dream like that, that's a leader. So kudos to you, my fine friend. Listen, if I don't get through all of these people, I'm not going to get your show in. You know what? I gotta keep talking to you. Hey, there's so much to go with. So thank you for sharing that about that. I don't want to belittle that last point. Super, super important. Everybody, take care of yourself and your health and so on. Another thing you are certified in. Never heard of this. So this is why I love doing this. Conversational intelligence, C-IQ, everybody. Fascinating stuff. I mean, fascinating that I don't even know about it because I research a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm so insatiably curious. So if I even hear something, I go, I don't know what that is. I look it up. I just want to know what it is. Never heard this before. And I was thinking, wow, that's fascinating. And it's the one that's created by Judith E. Grazer, right? Is that correct?
Grazer, yeah.
There you go. So I got the right person and stuff. And it's about helping building trust and deepening conversations, and it helps transform people's lives and business cultures and so on. Now, inside of that, so much to talk about that. That's a full show right there. But there's 3 levels. Let's go there with it. I want you to demonstrate, a little bit of this so that people understand what this is. So when they reach out to you and they know that you're certified in this, I think it'll get another opportunity for them to connect with you. 3 levels of conversation that we all have. And I didn't know that. I at least put that into perspective of how to categorize them and so on. So can you walk us through what these 3 are? I'm going to put them up on the screen here so that we can see this. We're talking about conversational intelligence. Unbelievable. And there's 3 levels to this. There's transactional conversations, positional conversations, and then transformational conversations. So am I good so far? Everything good?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, hey, the platform's yours. Walk me through this. I don't know of this. So tell me about these 3. Let's start with transactional conversations. What exactly does that mean?
Absolutely. So transactional conversations, most of us are very familiar with. It's the idea of, we want a solution, but I'm most concerned with me winning, and I really don't care if you win or lose. That's not important to me. So it's a transaction. I try to get you to do things my way. So that's the transaction there is. I win, you lose, or win, doesn't really matter, but I have to win. So that's the transactional. Positional is where I try to convince you. I try to influence you so that maybe you feel like you've won as well, so that we both can kind of win, but that's still less important to me. I mostly am just trying to get you on my side to have you win. So I guess I would say this is, you put a little bit more effort rather than I just tell you this is what we're going to do. I'm trying to convince you over to my side. And then of course, transformational conversations are when we co-create a solution together so that both of us absolutely win and we're both happy with the solution that we come up with.
Right. Wow. Okay. Just even in that, there's so much to unpack. But those first two conversations sound very me, I oriented, extremely I oriented. And I think you painted it like that purposely. Transactional, it's not to say that doing transactional business is bad, right? I mean, let's face it. I mean, every time you do business with people, you go through the coffee, you go to Starbucks, wherever you go to get your coffee, and you have that interaction. It's quite transactional. But I don't think there's any intent for ill will there, right? I mean, we're not talking about ill will when it comes to transactional conversations, are we?
No. And I would say to take it out of the idea of a sales transaction, because in a sales transaction, I say, I would like to buy this, and you say, okay, and you hand me something and I give you money for that. So that transaction, in that technical sense, we both win. You get money, I get a product. In corporate conversations, which is what conversational intelligence is all about, it's well, I guess we'll say it, we'll use the term manager. If a manager comes to an employee and says, you need to do this, that is a transactional conversation. It doesn't matter to me if you enjoy it, if you want to do this, if you think it's important part of your job, if you're not like, dear goodness, you've already given me 17 things to do today. Now I'm going to have to be here till midnight. That's a transactional conversation that has happened. I tell you what to do. I win because I get what I want, and I walk out going, I'm boss, and off we go. And you sit there, the employee goes, ugh. And they feel very much like they have lost in this process. They weren't given a chance to give an opinion. So that's kind of how I would say transactional comes from the idea of that sales transaction, but really technically in that other environment, you both win because of the money product exchange. Does that help?
No, that helps a lot. Absolutely. So positional. So basically, again, let's keep it into the leadership. We're in a business situation. So I understand what you meant by that. That absolutely. The other one was very, buying and selling and so on. So I appreciate that. And the reason why that popped in my mind is because I have a lot of friends in basically in the sales business. I think everyone's in sales. That's the other thing about it. Everyone's thinking that, generally speaking, I mean, we want to do business with people. We want to build relationships. We want to have some sort of interaction, transaction. I don't know how you want to call it, but let's stay in the office part. You just use that as the example. That's the manager comes over and says, hey, do this. I got to get it done. I need it by 3. Don't care what's on your plate, kind of thing. So the positional talk me through that, because I already have it in my head what I think that is. But tell me what is positional conversation then in that same scenario? Use that same scenario that you come into me and you're saying something that you need. Tell me about how does that play out?
So a manager might come to an employee and say, okay, I know you have a lot of things going on, but I really need this to get done. So I know you can kind of see why this is important to me. Maybe, could we include one of your other coworkers? Can you maybe offload some of your stuff onto another coworker? That's me using my influence as the manager saying, I really need this to happen, but I'm trying to get your buy-in. I'm not really interested in you agreeing with me, other than it would be nice, but in the end, I still need to win, and I'd like to help you help me win. But if you lose in the process, I'm still not as concerned about that.
I love that. I'm smiling because I'm thinking, it sounds like the 𝗟𝗶𝘃𝗵 thing. Help me, help you, help me. But I was thinking, I got that a little wrong, because I was thinking positional. Would that be also playing the role where someone walks in and basically says, I'm the boss, kind of thing? So you're using your position to make sure something gets done. Is that also a conversation where the position of where you are in the totem pole comes out as well?
Yeah, it's using your position of influence to try and gather buy-in. But in the end, we all know that, my position as boss says, well, even if you don't agree, you're going to do this. If I can get you to smile while you do it, that would be better for me, because that'll make me feel better. But I'll still use my influence, my position.
Got it. And transformational. So transformational is obviously the one that's, I mean, it's self-explanatory, but please explain that same situation and use transformational.
So transformational, if we use that exact same case, is a boss comes in and says, hey, can you kind of walk me through what you got going on right now? I have something that's kind of important to me, but I really want to understand what's going on for you right now and see if we can come up with a solution that will work for both of us. So that would be the most simple. And then, of course, getting them involved with the conversation and really listening to what they have to say, and then gathering their ideas for how to handle this and not pushing solutions on them.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. No, it sounds like inside of that, there's a lot of empathy, compassion, understanding, seeing the other person's point of view in their shoes, all that kind of thinking. I want to be really clear with everybody. I just picked literally one little segment of the whole program of this conversational intelligence. So if you want to learn more about that, of course, there she is right there. Just make sure you reach out to Elaine to talk more about that. I just think it's fantastic because, let's face it, communicating is so important. I mean, let's face it, communication is so important. I think we see it on the world stage, and we still see it in business today. We see it, you know, in the news every day, where people just, things go awry really quickly when communication breaks down. It's unbelievable. So the fact that you're bringing those worlds together inside of a culture, inside of business culture and so on, I think it's fantastic. So please, everyone, reach out and learn a little bit more about conversational intelligence. Speaking of that, about speaking and these conversations and so on, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the idea of leaders and speaking. Because again, coming from your background of speech, but I know that it's not exactly directly related to some of the things you're doing now, but just what we talked about there, having these kinds of conversations and speaking. Do you have to be a good speaker, do you think, to be a good leader? Or does that play a role, or do you think you can still navigate those kinds of conversations without being a good speaker? What do you think of that?
I'm actually going to say, I think being a good listener makes you a better leader.
Boom. Wow. Boom.
So, and I say that, of course, with the caveat that, of course, I help people learn how to do public speaking better. But as a leader, I think it's far more important that you listen, and you listen well.
Gosh, that's a hard skill, is it not? Is that not a hard skill? Can you learn that? Mm-hmm. Do you literally speak with some leaders right now and say, listen, you know, I think we need to work on your listening skills? I mean, do you actually say that? It sounds like you have.
Yes, it's a very delicate topic, and you tiptoe right up to that. But yes, there are times where I might position it as, how do you think your team felt when you walked into the room and said, okay, I have this great idea and I really want to hear what all of you have to say, and then we'll talk about my solution.
Right.
And I say, how much more effective do you think that might have gone had you walked in the room and said, we have this great thing we need to talk about today, and I so want to get all of your ideas?
Wow. See, I mean, it's just, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you don't necessarily, again, be a great speaker, if you will, like a public speaker or someone who moderates and things like that, to get that idea across. You can still come across very, friendly and team oriented, and actually empathetic and compassionate to the fact that people want to express themselves, and giving them the opportunity to do that. No, that's very good. I often think about that. Like, there's a lot of people that I respect as a leader, who actually aren't very good at speaking. And when you listen to them speak and do speeches and stuff, you're like, okay. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying, wow, okay. But I just have so much respect for them. And then vice versa. There's some people who can really speak and get their thoughts across, but you're like, spidey sense is going off. Something's going on, right? So no, I appreciate that. Hey, let's throw up a couple more comments. There's so many people here, just like, they love you to death. Look, this is the most comments I've ever had for anybody, I think. I don't know. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. I'm just thinking, like, there's just so many people here just commenting on your stuff. So I love this. Let me go back and see if I can find, there's just too many to go through, but I love this stuff. I so appreciate you guys doing this. It's so important that we share ideas and we connect here on LinkedIn, and specifically for Elaine, because of course you're only on LinkedIn. So I want people to connect with you. There you go. So more leaders and executives need your perspective. There you go. That's coming from That guy runs a very similar business. So there you go. Self-care is vital. Thank you, Mark Lee. Appreciate that. Here it is here. Let's see, Elaine, you are right. Our health is important and need to be healthy physically and mentally, but and engaging with family. So, I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's one thing to be talking about mental health and physicality for your job, but if you can't even be there for your family, absolutely, I agree 100%. Let's see who else is here. Super appreciate. Let's see, sending healing vibes. That was, I got that. Listen, anytime someone calls us a rock star, look at that hair over there. Look at that hair over there. That's rock star stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, right? This is a rental, but that comes with the shirt. But yours, you're going to have it later on tonight, which is fantastic. I love it. A conversational intelligence. See? Ooh, see, Andrea? Right there. Talk about that, everybody. Amongst yourselves, it's all cool. Love this as well. Conversational intelligence defiantly requires listening with more than just your ears. You're absolutely right. Wow, that's a great segue, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, for this great segue. Because coming up right now, I wanted to mention this. You just talked about it, about more than your ears, because I know you do body language as well. So we're talking. See, great segue, Daniel. Thank you, buddy.
That was a great segue,
right? Wasn't it? I could have went right into it, but I just thought, too easy. I just want to give him credit.
We needed Daniel to give us that.
There you go. There you go. He's I'm really good at level 2 and 3, but not all that great at level 1. That's interesting. So he's saying he's not good at the transactional one. That's interesting. Wow, that's interesting. We Prince, write something else about that, Mark, if you can, because I'm trying to understand. That's fantastically interesting. Melody, level of empathy. They're talking about empathy. I could probably say 2 phrases now. Melody would start weeping. She is so sensitive to the world. Beautiful heart, so connected to the earth. We need more people like that. I think your level of empathy is an important ingredient to your speaking to do it well. Absolutely, Melody. Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, when people can hear that you care about them and so on, I think that's fantastic about that. Not sure. Let's see what else is here. Oh, there's just so many things. Hey, and there's let's see, Mark, James. Here's James. Boom. Jimmy Jam, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for tuning in and watching this. So you got a lot of fans, and you're only on LinkedIn. Can you imagine? Who would have thunk? Well, I would have thunk. That's why I have you here. That's why I have you here. Speaking of that great segue, I know you do body language, so this is why I was sitting here like this and going, is she going to talk to me about putting my hand up to my mouth? We'll get to that as a little secret in a second. Yeah, he's hiding. All right, let's cut to the chase here. You do body language, nonverbal communication. I mean, let's face it, that you're absolutely right. I mean, when you're in a room or a party, you meet people on the street, wherever you are, grocery store, doesn't matter. Your language could say one thing, but boy, your facial expressions, your body language is telling me something completely different. That's for sure. So there's definitely all kinds of types of a nonverbal communication that we're talking about. Talk about the body language a little bit so people understand what we're talking about here. I put a couple along the bottom. I hope I'm on the right track here. Facial expressions, body movement, gestures, eye contact. That's another thing I want to tell you. I know the camera's there, but hey, I'm doing other things. I'm a little busy.
You get a free pass. You get a free pass because you're the host.
I'm a little busy here. Just so you know.
You get a free pass.
That's all joking aside. But body movements, eye contact, touch, space, distance, right? I love that. When people are right up to you, all that kind of stuff, and voice, the tone, and so on. Talk to us the importance of why you think that body language and nonverbal communication is probably almost as important as vocal communication, if you will. Yeah.
Yes, it is so important. Part of the reason why I got certified in it as well. And the percentages vary wildly. You can hear 67% of the messages actually presented non-verbally. I've heard up to 90%. So somewhere in there is the truth that the majority, more than half of the meaning that we put out in what we are saying as a message isn't coming from our words. And of course, if there's an incongruency between what you're saying, the classic example, of course, is, oh, I really want to do this. And of course, that's not what your body's saying. Your body's saying, I don't want to do this. Don't make me do it. It's a little
sarcasm
I'm really
in there.
Excited. No. When your tone, to talk about the voice, when your tone doesn't match what your body's saying, when your tone doesn't match what your words are saying, oh, I'm really happy to see you today.
Right.
You don't believe me. You don't believe me at all. And that's simply a vocal tone thing. And when you're shaking your head, when you're saying something that should be a nodding yes, then you also don't believe me. And of course, to touch on the eye contact, and you do get a free pass because you're doing so many different things. But I do have to laugh at that. So one of the things I do talk about for people doing videos, and you'll see this a lot. People do videos and they stare down at themselves at the screen. And what you're missing there is a free opportunity to create that neurochemistry level connection. And I like to, in a professional setting, call it the connection hormone, not the cuddle hormone, but oxytocin. You release that when you make eye contact with somebody. And the way to do that during a video is to look at your camera.
Right.
So instead of looking at yourself, because I know that you're way prettier than the camera, but instead of looking at yourself, looking at your audience will just create that little bit more of a connection so that when someone sees your video, as they're scrolling by in their feed, when they see your video and they see you making eye contact with them, they're going to stop. And that's what you want. You want them to feel that you're connected with them, that they're actually important to you, not that I'm talking to myself. And so and
it's very applicable today because, of course, you know, we've been forced to speak for the last 18 months or 6, whatever the months are now. I don't even know anymore. We've been forced to do this. I mean, everyone's Zoomed to death. Everyone is on calls and they're doing these kinds of things. So that is a very important point when it comes to this kind of connection. What about as we get back into, you know, day in, day out, because it's coming. I mean, we're going to get back together. We're going to start connecting with people. I mean, we're out and about in the grocery stores and doing our things now. But once things open up and, you know, we start going to the beach or the, you know, the sporting event or whatever, you need to be able to do this. Why is that so important? Maybe to some of the from the leadership perspective, talk about that when it comes to how leaders need to be super, super aware of the intention of learning more about themselves when it comes to body language. Because to your point, you know, when your boss goes like, yeah, you're doing really a good job, you know, you're like, what? Kind of just shook his head there. Or did he do this? Or she did that?
What was that? Yes.
So why is that important? Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe some tips. How about that? Why don't we jump to what advice are you going to be given to leaders as we move into that? Tips and advice maybe that you give about being in tune with their body language as we move forward.
And because it is that important, because as a leader, I guess you can think of as they're being held up on a pedestal. So everything a leader does is on stage. I've given the example of someone who didn't want to worry his team, and so was sitting there during a team presentation and just kind of leaned forward and went, and just sighed. Now, what he was thinking about was his mom in the hospital, and he hadn't told them because he was like, oh, they're doing this great work and whatever. People around him noticed. And immediately they said, he's not really into this. Like, we've been working on this for months. He's been so excited about it. And then clearly he's not happy with it. And fortunately, he had a good enough relationship with his team that someone came up to him afterwards and said, you know, is everything okay? You're not excited about this? He goes, what are you talking about? I think it's great. I think they did a great job. Yeah. And so he had to kind of gather everyone back around and say, guys, I'm really sorry. My mom's in the hospital. And, you know, I was thinking about her for a minute, and I'm so sorry about that. But the damage that could have had he not had that level of relationship with his team is huge, because there are people who, to use your example, when the boss goes, yeah, you're doing a great job, they're immediately, I'm going to get fired. I just bought a house. This is so stressful. Like, I can't believe this. And so you do need to, as a leader, be very, very thoughtful.
Uh-oh, we got you frozen. There you're back. You're back. Sorry, you just froze for a second. I got you back. Oh, you scared me. I don't scare. I don't scare with live. It's live, but I froze you. Keep going with that thought. We just lost you a little bit where you were just talking about they have to be very aware.
They do have to be very aware. And I'm just going to play a joke on myself there. And that is, and having a lightly pleasant expression in your face at all times, so that when your Zoom does freeze, your face isn't scary, is very important.
I know. If you want to be, if they're going to freeze, you want to go like,
right. Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly. Because I will say I have frozen several times, and I'm going to use a different term for something that's maybe more commonly understood, but a resting facial expression is very important as a leader to have, because if you have a very severe look on your face, because I will say my thinking face can be a little intimidating.
Sure. Hey,
And so I've had to work on that myself when I've been on Zoom calls with my clients, because they think, are you okay? Like, what am I saying wrong? You know? I'm like, oh, yes, resting facial expression needs to be a little modified there. And so it's something that I've been working on. So hopefully I got that right, and I didn't have some weird look on my face while I was.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, I was more concerned. If I hear you, I'm good. Once the audio goes, I'm a little worried. No, that's it's so important. I think, again, just to make sure, to reiterate, I mean, we're going to be connecting back and forth with people. We're going to be getting off these screens. We're going to be in front of people, meaning that, you know, they will see if you're wearing pants or not. They're going to see, right? They're going to see what you're doing, and your body language is going to play a role. And I can't think of anything more important than a leader in any scenario. How you walk, how you present yourself, how you speak, your tone, the facial expression that goes with those words, so important. I mean, words are so powerful, are they not? I mean, they could crush a spirit, like I mean, just in an instant, it can crush, and it can inspire and lift like that as well. So super important. No, I again, as a certified, you know, body language trainer, I know that you spend a lot of time talking to leaders about that. That was my biggest concern coming out. I was thinking, does she ever see my show? Because I'm like this all the time. So she always thinks. So I know that Elaine thinks that. What does this mean to you? So I'm watching you now. Tell me what this means to you.
So in body language terminology, having your hand up in front of your face is two things. It can be a sign of dishonesty, or you're hiding something, or it can be a sign that you're doing. Yeah, it's okay, because I have seen your show before, and I know you do this. But it can also be a sign of, I'm not feeling comfortable, so I'm going into protect mode. So now, of course, what we know about Peter is that funny. This is his thinking face, and this is the I'm about ready to ask an amazing question face.
Right? I mean, when I heard you say that in another interview or something I read, I can't remember what it was, but I heard that. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to lambaste me. She's going to be like, well, the guy never looks at his camera. He's always putting his hand to his face. He's hiding something. I'm like, hey, you know, but you know, the reason why I brought it up as well is because I took the joking part of it and I really gave it some thought. I really did. And so I appreciate the fact it was mentioned, because I don't know. I don't think of it like that. If someone saw me and they do think that, again, you know, I can't control obviously what other people think about me. And, you know, as the old saying goes, what you think about me is none of my business, what you think about me. But back to the point, I wouldn't want to ever send that signal. I wouldn't want to send that signal. I wouldn't want people to think, wow, he looks really uncomfortable here. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not. Or he looks bewildered, or like you said, you said untruthful, or whatever it is. You wouldn't want to send that message. And so, you know, aware of it actually just makes me think differently of how I approach what I do. And so, no, I appreciate that. I think it's super important because, again, we're all doing it every day anyway. You know, we're sending, you know, it's like when you have your closest friend or your partner or your spouse or whatever, and they're like, what's that look for? Like, what look? What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. It's like, yeah, that look that you gave me. Almost like when you're growing up, wait till your dad, and your dad looks at you, and you're like, mom gave you that look, right? Yeah. So body language is so important. I agree. Listen, there's so much I'm going to keep going back and forth to the comments. So let me jump over to the comments.
Okay, and if I may do the +1% thing with you, if I may be so bold as to do this on your own show with you, if you wanted, I know you'll never invite me back again, but if you wanted to just soften that to, instead of this, have it be this, because I've seen you do this as well. And this is much more, I'm thinking, and I don't have my mouth covered. And it's a more supportive, I am thinking, and it will give that appearance. And the other thing that it does is, instead of bringing it across your body, it's off to the side. So it's a little bit more open. So that would be a +1%, just slight modification.
Now you're making me think. See, if I start thinking about, can you imagine if we start thinking like that? I'm thinking like, let me talk to this person.
I know. I just have to tell you this. So my joke that I would do in parties before was, if someone was droning on and on and on, and I was maybe tired of the conversation, I'd be like, oh, have I mentioned what I do? I'm a speech therapist. And people go, and they just stop talking. And so now my fun joke is, oh, have I mentioned what I do? I'm a speech therapist and a body language trainer. And then they stop talking and they stop moving, and I just have to walk away. So yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm going to use that. I thought of that. I was thinking, that's an unbelievable. Hey, you know what do you do, Peter? You know, I study body language.
So
I love it. So while you're walking away, get me a beer when you come back, because I know you're not going to stay here for the conversation. I love it. I love it. I talk about here. Let's throw in Brene. Brene Brown. There's so much going on here. Brene Brown talks about situations like that.
Yes.
I wonder if she's referring. Let me see what she's referring to here. There's so many conversations going on. Our energy is also very telling. This is from Rhonda. We can feel positive, negative, interested, uninterested, care, don't care. Vibe in a person. Interesting to think about this from a camera lens. So what you were talking about, this idea of how people will perceive you and so on, I think it's interesting. And again, just the fact that you said that. I know you mentioned this before as well, and I don't want to beat it to death, but I just think it's interesting. You said, I think I heard you say somewhere that, when people, I have one here somewhere, a pen. So someone's chewing on a pen, you're saying something that it's like nervous or scared, or I don't know what you said something. And I was thinking, really? But here's what's funny. I'm thinking, like, if I took my glasses off, it's like, oh, he's really smart. So if I'm chewing on this, I'm smart. If I'm chewing on this, I'm a little nervous and don't know what I'm doing. Right. It's weird, right? I just think it's fascinating. I shouldn't say it's weird. It's fascinating.
It is both. It's weird.
It's both. It's both. There you go. Normally don't take those off when I'm trying to read here. I only wear these for reading, by the way. I think people would find it interesting to see me without my glasses, because I normally wear like contacts and things like that. But anyway, just throwing that out there here. I love this. Like, hey, we're going to get to the body language here a bit. Also know about body language. Okay, this is cool. Oh, see, there's so many questions for you here. Please go through all of these I will absolutely. Yeah, please go back.
I'm way too much of a nerd not to. So
there you go. I'm curious. So this is from Steve. I appreciate. I'm curious also to know what you think about body language and inclusive leadership. Meaning, do you see incredible leadership in those who are not perfect human specimens, which is very true. Hard to find one of those anyway. That's for sure. Put it another way, is it possible to have gravitas? I don't use that a lot, Steve. Thanks for that. And amazing body language for those in for those in a wheelchair, for example, or challenges that mean their body language is naturally less optimum. So that's a really good question. I mean, so in other words, if somebody's physicality might not be positioned what we regularly think of that position of their title or whatever, that obviously plays a big role in how we see and hear them, I guess, even audibly and then visually. Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's actually a fantastic example, Steve. When, and this is something I was actually going to touch on earlier, when a leader is speaking to their team, it's important that they be on eye level. So I talk about that a lot. Being at eye level with your camera helps your team see you as a partner, even on a subconscious level. Whereas if you're leaning over your camera, they see you as intimidating. They're not going to be as willing to speak up. And if you're sitting below your camera, you're seen as subservient. The same applies when we're in person. And I actually had a supervisor at one point who was in a wheelchair. And the etiquette rule that was set up in our whole entire team was, when you enter his office, you sit down immediately, even if you're just there for a few minutes, because then you can be eye to eye with him. And that was a sign of respect from us as a team to not stand over him, causing that, sense of disrespect or intimidation. And if you didn't remember, he would say, please sit down. And that was just his way to make sure that it was an eye-to-eye conversation. And I think even for people who are not in a wheelchair, making sure, if you happen to be a very tall person, sit down or slouch down. I don't know, but sit down, get on eye level with your team so that they feel like you want to partner with them. So that's a very, very good point, and really something to be respectful of when there's a big height difference. I've heard the example of, if you have a conference room table with chairs all around it, make sure those chairs are ones that can be adjusted up and down, and make sure everyone is on eye level, and do it purposefully, do it intentionally. Okay, everyone, because we want to have a partnership here, everyone at eye level. And it can be a very awkward thing, but it is something that you can take from this environment where we're doing it, where it's a lot easier. Okay, I can lower my chair, and Peter and I were discussing this beforehand. I'm like, okay, I want to make sure we're about the same, and that kind of thing. The proximity that you have to your camera is something you can carry over into the real world of, don't get too close to people, don't stand too far away from them, and make them feel like you don't actually want to partner with them and collaborate with them by being distant. And the closed body language carries the same. Eye contact really carries the same. So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in this environment definitely is applicable. But the making sure you're at eye level is something that I think is a sign of respect, and definitely for people who are in wheelchairs.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And I'm glad Steve brought that question up, because you know what? I just learned something there. I don't think that, to be frank with you, that is my go-to thing to do when I walk into a room. If I don't even, I'm conscious of that person, that's for sure. Obviously I'm aware of it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll take. I'll think about that later. I could go into that direction. That's a really, really important question. I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
see, now this is what you started. Now, I tend to say. So Melody said, "Hands to put her hand on the chin." Usually, when they have my full attention, right?
Yeah.
So now she's going to be doing the one-on-one, and but where she say it here? I think this is funny. Now she goes, "Look, now I'm going to be watching your body language."
Peter's like, great, everyone's watching my body language now.
Honest to goodness, right? I mean, you know, come on, everybody. I mean, yeah, I do my thing. This is what I do. I told you that up front. I can't change now. I'm not even
do
try.
very nicely, Peter.
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Listen, we got so much more to cover here. I got to jump into this. Looking forward to this conversation. DISC. Let's talk about DISC. You're certified in DISC. DISC is a show. That's a 90-minute show right there. I mean, I could do 90 minutes just on DISC and so on. But I think everyone knows, you know, these kinds of things. They're personal assessment tools. Kind of like Myers-Briggs is another one that people might be familiar with. You know, it's a tool that's used basically, you know, to help understand who people are and what they're all about. And it's supposed to help, you know, with your team and your communication and productivity and things like that. Why is that important to you? Why was that so important to add to your list of things to do? More importantly, or just as importantly, why is that important for leaders to either have that assessment of themselves and maybe some of their teammates? Why? So start with, why was that important to add to your little tickle trunk of tools? And then why is it important for leaders?
So why it's important to me is if people have looked at my LinkedIn profile, they'll see that I've had a number of careers, this being my fourth one. And for me, helping people become more effective in their communication, whether that's through presentation, developing themselves or their teams, having better conversations. That's why the speech pathology, that's why the voice, the body language, all of that stuff. And so when I was looking around for what assessments I might want to become certified in, when I came across DISC, and it's about how do people communicate. And I love learning about myself. And so, of course, I took it as part of getting certified in it and went through the process of they call it a debriefing, where you go through the entire report. Learning about myself was really, really important. What I really like about it as well is it talks about, okay, now that you know this about yourself and now that you're aware of the other communication behavioral tendencies, how do you use that in order to be able to communicate more successfully with someone else? So, for example, if I come into a room and I'm saying, oh, hi, how are you? And they're like, hey, how you doing? So what are we here to talk about? I now know this is someone who's not interested in hearing about my weekend, and they will get irritated and frustrated and a lot less likely to hear what I need to say later if I persist in being more conversational or socializing per se. So that's just one small example. So if a leader comes into a room and everyone's kind of talking and enjoying the time and drinking coffee, and they start going straight into the agenda, it's going to be very abrupt. And if they knew about their team that connecting piece is so important, then maybe we allow a little bit of time to, hey, how's everyone doing today? How's everyone's weekend been? Anyone else have a kid in soccer this week? You know, any of those kinds of things. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Will give a leader a way to really connect with their team. I have come across a company who has every single new employee that they hire go through the DISC, and every person's desk has what their types are.
Oh, wow.
And at the bottom of all their internal emails, and this was truly fascinating to me from a technological standpoint, at the bottom of the email, it says, this is my preferred way to be communicated with. This is your best option, and this is something you should never do. And that's a part of the DISC assessment, is one of the things that I strongly prefer. And this is one thing that if you want to make sure that you never communicate effectively with me, this is one way to do it. Wow. And it's so, like, for me, don't rush me, don't be rude, and don't be disrespectful to me. Because if you are, I'm probably going to be a little harder to work with. Just going to own that right now. Whereas if you come and you respectfully ask me how I'm doing and then get to your point, I'm much more participatory in the conversation. And I think, how fascinating is that, to give someone a way to say, okay, this is how I normally communicate, but this is how this other person prefers for me to communicate. So to go back to the first example, if you have someone who's very directive, very, I'm trying to avoid any negative words, but very, very upfront. Let's go with that.
Yeah,
very
blunt.
upfront.
They're just blunt.
There you go. So that's not someone you're going to want to give a lot of detail and background to. Just give me the highlights, give me what I need to know so that I can go on and do my stuff. Whereas someone else who's very detail oriented, you don't want to just go, okay, so we're kind of talking about a program here. Are you on board? What program are we talking about? Like, I don't know what we're talking about. I cannot possibly be on board if I don't know what we're talking about.
Right. Now we're talking about also what's interesting here, the style and the actual distribution of that exchange. So for example, you know, some people just love texting and it's like, well, and some people like the phone. And then some people say, I prefer by email or, you know, WhatsApp me, you know, or whatever it is for them. There is this technological communication preference as well, which is fascinating because I must say, I find that moves around from person to person that I communicate with, where someone says, you know, the best way to reach me, Peter, you know, just go to my Instagram and DM me. I'm like, what? don't you want me to call you? No, don't call me. You know, DM me. And I'm like, DM you? Like, wow. So like, as an example, they'll use Instagram as their connection point. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that, wow, that's just interesting versus, you know, some people just enjoy a phone call and say, hey, why don't you give me a quick call, 30 seconds. Hey, I'll be over in whatever we're doing. And you know, that kind of thing. So both ways work. It's interesting. Just so you know, listen, I love this stuff too. I'm so fascinated about people, but I'm just as fascinated about this. It's like, always, what is going on in here?
Yeah.
I did one last night. I found one and I did one. And you know what's funny about it? Could be a guy thing, by the way. It's probably a guy thing. I'm going to guess. I don't want to get into that, but I'm just thinking it's a guy thing. You know, we're always wanting to be like, well, that's not me. You know, I'm reading this stuff and going, well, that's not me. And at the same time, the questions are so close. Sometimes the definitions or words are just microscopically different. And of course, we're all looking through our own, you know, masks and our screens and our filters. And and so when there's 4 words there and I'm going, okay, there is one that's not me, but those other 3, they're just so close to each other. And so you end up picking one and it moves in another direction. So that's why I'm saying I'm going to do it again anyway, just to see if I'm right. So I did a first one. Where did I do this one? This one was only last year or something, and it was just a short one. It's not probably the official one that you have. I don't know what yours is, but maybe I should check out your services and get one done. But so it's funny how you like when you hear the stuff that you say, yeah, that sounds like me. And then there's other stuff that's kind of like really humbling as well. And then there's other stuff that you hear that's almost like embarrassing because you're like, it's almost complimentary. And then you're like, oh gosh, you know, and so I mean, again, I'm not a very good receiver of compliments and those kinds of things. And I'm really working at it. I think most people are like that, to be honest with you. You know, if you say, hey, nice shirt. Yeah, it's a rental. You know, it's really, it's very, you know, you put yourself down a lot. I know I do that a lot. And my wife is on me all the time. She goes, stop doing that in front of people. Stop, you know, putting yourself down all the time. It's just a mechanism and so on. Maybe there is something to this. Hey, you never know. So I want to read something to you. I just thought it was fun. The first one said to me, he said, I'm an encourager. That sound right to you? I mean, I don't know. And this, so that the first one said I was an encourager. The other one says, I'm a coach. I mean, come on. You know, I mean, anyway, I'm going to leave it there. But there's some of them that are super, super cool. So the encourager one, I thought it was cool. Just said basically, it says, Peter is positive, open-minded, and outgoing. He enjoys meeting new people and spending time with friends. He offers fresh ideas and creative thinking that can reinvent the world around them. Inventive, open, optimistic, colorful, expressive with new ideas. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's some of me, right? I mean, I think so. I don't know. But these other ones here, I'm like, what is that? Like some of them are just like, that's not me. But some of them I like here, I must say, some of them really make me feel good. So I don't know about the coach stuff, but basically they said you seen as warm, empathetic, and insightful. So maybe that's a good coach. I mean, you're a coach. I mean, you'd want those kind of characteristics, right? Those kinds of things. Here's one that I just really like, and I agree with this, and it's only from my experience. It's got nothing to do with my opinion of myself. But I'm sharing this not for me. I just wanted to share that I went through this, and I just thought you'd find it interesting. It says you show a rare ability to get along with a wide variety of people. This comes from both your sincere interest in people, from your inherent patience with working with others. And it's so true. I really can seem to get along with a lot of people. I'm always really concerned when I can't get along with somebody. I'm thinking, wow, what am I doing here? Because it's got to be me. It's not them. So it's me. So I'm thinking like, what is this? What's going on? And because I know that I can talk to different people from all over different verticals and cultures and languages, because I've done it. And the experience is normally the same. And I'm always concerned with it. But I love that. I must say, I love this. I like this one they said, and I just want to share this one with you. It says, the combination of your listening skills, people skills, and innate sincerity allows you to influence others. That's kind of, maybe that's the coaching part. I don't know. I mean, influence for a force for good. I mean, you want to do it, influence for good, right? I mean, so anyway, you have an empathetic listening style. This is rare. It says some listening skills can be taught, but the inherent sincere listening that you demonstrate is something innate. I think that was a nice compliment.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a very nice compliment. And I would say that's very true of you, Peter, because you don't just ask questions because you're curious. You're actually curious to hear for that particular person why that's true for them. And that's the difference, I think. It's not just a transaction to get information. It's actually you want to have that conversation and that connection with them and really, truly understand, which people can feel.
Wow, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. Now, mind you, did you notice I'm reading all the good stuff?
I know. There's that fun part in there where you're like,
there's stuff in here. I'm like, come on, man. Like I thought I was different than that, but it's not that bad. It's just that, like, for example, it talks about it seems that they say that there's a lot of drive there for, and I don't know if success is the right word, but, even power. You can be both cooperative and competitive depending on the situation at hand. I think that's everybody. I mean, you're competitive if you're, I don't know, playing chess or something, or playing a sport, but I'm not competitive to the point where I got to win. That's just, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like, I think it comes with age too. I don't know if your disc, I'm going to guess your disc at 25 and at 50. Gosh, I mean, that's got to be like two different people, right?
Yeah. And I do think it is very important to recognize these are tendencies. These are how we, they talk about the natural style and then the adapted style. And the natural style is when you're all by yourself and you were to answer these questions, this is how you would tend to answer in the mood that you're in. And I have taken enough of these, and I'm enough of a nerd that I can see those questions where I say, if I answer it this way, it's going to make my result like this. And so I really will struggle with myself. Like, how do I really feel? Not what am I messing with this particular metric to do? And this is where I become a significant nerd, and I have to talk myself out of that. But I will tell you an interesting fact about the DISC is that, and I'm saying this based on you saying, well, this one, no, but these other three, depending on which way. I am, and this is on my LinkedIn profile, I am all capital letters, 𝘖𝚗 is my DISC style. And I'm evenly all of those as my natural style.
Wow.
So the DISC assessment that I took, I actually had to take more questions than someone who is significantly more one style, because they call them tiebreaker questions. And then it really comes down to, is it this one or is it this one? And they'll keep pairing them against each other until you have picked one consistently enough so that they can typecast you, if you will.
That happened with me last night.
Yes.
Yeah,
so that's what I was thinking. I was thinking you must be pretty even between several different ones that you felt like. So.
I got that a lot. And you know what I thought? It just tells you. I was thinking there must be something wrong with this program. It keeps asking me
I've answered this question before.
I just answered that. And then it comes back and it's like they switch the answers around. I go like, well, I just answered that. So
I just answered that one. Yes.
Now I know
so
why.
That was what's happening. You had to take tiebreaker questions as well. So again, I like to encourage people that this is not an assessment of intelligence. This is just your tendency for the mood that you're in right at this moment. And it will give you a general picture of you right now. How you look in 25 years probably is going to be pretty different.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think back, that's another show altogether. I just think for males, every 5 years, we're like different, right? I'm just telling you straight out, 16 to 21, 21 to 26, 26 to 31, 31 to 37, and so on. I lived it. I'm telling you, I'm going to write a book about it because I know it's true. I just know that's true. So, hey, let me throw up a couple more here. Kenneth, always good to see you, my friend. He always has these savor the flavor. This guy is the poet of words right there. So he is all over that, all that kind of stuff. Appreciate that. Super helpful tool for understanding ways to communicate with different personalities and their preferences. Absolutely true on it. I mean, and again, back to your point, Elaine, it's not about right or wrong, or you're always like that. I mean, it depends on your mood. It depends. And that's what's so interesting, going back to the body language thing. When you see somebody happy-go-lucky, you don't know what's going on. And that's why you check on your friends. You know, you check on your strongest friends, as they say. Make sure you're checking in on people, because someone puts a smile on. It's the Robin Williams effect, right? You think everything's funny and joking, and there's something else going on. So it's really interesting. All of this stuff. That's why I love this stuff. That's why I was so glad you did all this. So I appreciate that. Who else is here? There's so many people. I so appreciate you guys all. And there's so many. I got so much more to talk with this. Here we go. Bill, there you go, Bill. I don't know what you tell me. There's other things. He's having conversations with other people. I just random grabbing them. But Mark Lee, he's like, you got to go back. Make sure you go back and check all.
I will. I will.
Because people are just it's great here. And look, what a lovely show and guest, Peter. Hey, that's the one I wanted to get up right there. I appreciate that. Super. And Melody, 16 personalities test. Do that repeat question thing, and they can be eye-opening. Back to back to the point, Melody. Absolutely. That popped up a few times for me. I just found the word so close. And what you said, Elaine, was I was thinking, well, sometimes I'm like that. Sometimes I'm like that. And it's literally what that mood is. Where I am, who I'm around, the energy. I think there's a complexity to it, and I love it. So DISC certified right there. You can reach out to Elaine to get that done. Listen, I've been keeping you so long. We're going to keep moving along and rocking and rolling. There's still lots to do. I know everyone. Listen, everybody, I try to keep these shows. I really do. I try to do them under 60 minutes. I can't. It's just not my style. That's not what I do. We just have too much to talk about, and I enjoy the company too much. So it's as simple as that. Let's talk about your journey. Fantastic. You know, just what I learned on LinkedIn, really, because again, you don't have a social footprint, so I can't find you. You know, I didn't get a hold of your HR person, so I couldn't do any of that. So I don't know your grade 7 teacher, and so, but you have an amazing journey. So, I saw that you work with Pepsi and all these kinds of different experiences in your life. Let's come right to where you are now. What are you most proud of? What are you most proud of about your journey to date?
I am going to say that what lights me up is when I see that by my path having crossed with another person's path, I've helped them go on to have a better life. Even if it's just a small thing, that for me, and I'm going to say I have a humongous amount of respect for parents, but I am not a parent. And so that's my legacy, is how can I make my part of our world a better place by each person's life who I touch. And that has been through all of my various careers and now through coaching.
Wow. Beautifully said. Wow. That's beautifully said. Yeah, you caught me there. That's fantastic. I love the word legacy. I don't know if you heard me use that word before in conversations and stuff. I just think it's just so important that we leave everything better, a little better. And you really, how are people going to see you and talk about you? So I heard this from somebody. Gosh, I don't want to take credit for it. So I don't normally do this, but it just popped in my head right now. And I'm going to, for 3 seconds here, literally, just look in front of my screen here. His name is David 𝘵𝗵𝗃. So I want to make sure I give credit to where I got this idea popped in my head. And when I heard this person say this, it blew my mind. So David 𝘵𝗵𝗃, SPISAK. I was in a Clubhouse room. I normally just have it on the background. Sometimes I'm just listening while I'm making a coffee or whatever the case may be. And I was listening, and he was talking. He had a long presentation, and he basically said, people are always trying to sell out their current position, their job, what they do, you know, during their life. He goes, I want to sell out my funeral. I want to sell out my funeral, because that'll give you an indication of how many people you've affected, how many people you've influenced, or the legacy that you left behind. And I'm paraphrasing there. He said it much better than that, but I just love that concept. And you just mentioned about legacy. How many people have you affected? How many people do you touch and help them along their way? I think that's a magical thing to be proud of when you go, you know, to the other side. I think there's something magical about that. But I love that phrase. I don't know if that resonates with you. Sell out your funeral. I was like,
absolutely.
I want a ton of people there, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Not soon, just so you know. Not soon.
No rushing. No rushing.
No, we got lots to do. There's so much more to do. You know, it's been a tough year. You know this. It's been a tough year for everybody. You certainly keep your glow going, which is fantastic. And I know you help leaders do the same. But it's been tough for a lot of people. So I'm just curious for you personally, you know, what keeps you hopeful? What keeps you hopeful and optimistic these days?
That's a great question. I would say I draw from the concept of everything happens for a reason. And even when there's something tough going on, if we can pause and say, what is this teaching me? How is this helping me to grow into the person that I'm going to need to be in order to take advantage of the next opportunity or scale that next challenge? I love to learn. And the silver lining of this has been that it's given me time to get more certifications, because apparently I think that in addition to selling out my funeral, I want to die with the most alphabet soup after my name. But
nice.
Apparently a little bit competitive with myself for that. But
I know. I apologize. Now that you just said that, I recognize I didn't put that anywhere. And I was thinking, gosh, I should have put that in all of it.
No. I took a lot of flack. For a while, I had a lot more alphabet soup after my name. And I took a lot of flack from other people on LinkedIn about that. You know, I don't know, what's all that stuff? Okay, fine. All that stuff? I'll take most of it off. But that for me, learning and growing and recognizing that, yeah, it's a tough time, but this has given us the opportunity to connect with each other in ways that we wouldn't have had time for. And it's also helped give us a new perspective on what's really important. And I've called it COVID clarity. I will tell you, I am a nerd and I like alliteration. And so that made me happy, but I call it COVID clarity. It's just for some of us recognizing that some of the things that were important to us before, maybe not so much now. And how do we want our future to look? How do we want to shape that going forward?
Yeah. That's a super perspective to have after everything that we've all been through, and not just what we've been through. If you're empathetic, I know that I had a conversation this morning with someone about it, and I couldn't even get it out. I mean, I'm a pretty soft person, and so when I get moved, I can't think, I can't speak, I can't do anything. I mean, so I feel not only for what I've been through or our family has been through, but for other people. Other people have been through so much this, and so like you said, if we can do one thing in our lives and have a different perspective about what's really important, I think that's a magical place to get to. So hey, I appreciate that so much. Now, you know, first of all, this has been just so much fun. You already know that, right? I mean, I could have taken any one of these subject matters, body language, speaking, leadership, presence, all that stuff. I mean, a disc, we could have, and what was the other one? Conversational intelligence. I mean, gosh almighty, there's so much to talk about there. So everybody, please go check out Elaine and connect here on LinkedIn. So let me just put that up real quick here just to make sure everyone knows how to reach you, because this is really the only way you're going to reach her is here.
That's it. That's the only place. You're not going to
find it, everybody. I looked. I'm telling you, I searched. Okay, I went back to what is it? Walla Walla. I went back to the university. I went through the books. I was like, I can't find her. So she just. She's not there, so you can connect with her. I think it's fantastic there. So hey, we got to have some fun before we go. I know you know this part of the show. I know you watch the show.
Yes.
So I had to do something special for you. I've not done this before. I've done different versions of this before, but I do this or that. You know that, right? We have to come up and do a this or that, because I don't know what's going on inside there. We got to figure out what's going on inside. Now, I know you know the show, and I love asking similar questions because then I can compare them to other people. And I think down the road, you already know that there's probably shows coming like that where I'm going to compare and have some fun. So it's fun to hear what other people think of the same question. That's why I ask the same question all the time. But for you, because you watch the show so much, because I know you did, I have two. So I have my regular one, and I have another one for you. So you're special. So I personally like the one I always do because it's fun to compare to other people. But I'm going to give you that option. I don't give that. I didn't give that out lightly, just so you know.
Okay. All right.
So which one why don't you go with, A or B?
Oh, I am going to defer to you as my host to let you decide. That's
super gracious. Super gracious. Super gracious. You know what? Yeah, I'm looking at the other one here, and I think they're kind of funny too. I kind of like them. I kind of like them. How about if I mix them up? No. You know what? I like comparing them to other people. Maybe I'll throw in a couple extra ones, bonus.
Okay. All right.
We
can be like the disc and have tiebreaker questions.
Yeah. There you see, right? There you go. There you go. So this or that, you know the drill. This is what I love. A guest that comes on first time on the show and actually knows this segment of the show. I appreciate that. That's that meaningful to me. I really appreciate that. Okay, and I never asked you earlier this. So again, if there's no offense to anybody and stuff like that, but I never asked you if you drank alcohol. It doesn't matter if you do, but whiskey or wine. Let's start there. Whiskey or wine?
I do not drink alcohol. So
tea or kombucha? Green tea or kombucha?
I don't drink anything caffeinated.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to give you one of my bonus questions to start it then. See, that's fantastic. You know what? You love that insatiable nerd thing, don't you? Yeah. Okay, how about this one? This will be fun for you. I'll start it off with this one. This will be a different one for you. When you put cups in the cupboard, right side up or upside down?
Upside down.
Upside down. Okay, keep the dust out, right? So
yes. Yes.
There you go.
That's because my three favorite words are actually easy to clean. So
you know what? I'm going to go with this. That was the first question to B. So I'm going to defer to B. You're going to do your own.
Okay.
They're nice and short. I can think of that. How about this? Touch or taste?
Touch.
There's no right or wrong. It's just no right or wrong.
I was doing the disc thing. Like, are we talking about like touching my food or tasting my food? Or are we talking about touching someone versus? And I'm like, okay, we're just. No, we're not going there.
I'm not touching it. I'm not touching any of that. So there you go. We'll leave that alone. Day at the beach or day in the mountains?
What my dermatologist would prefer is a day underneath a big rock inside of a cave, but I will say in the mountains.
Okay.
But I love both, so it's a hard choice for me.
It is. No, I appreciate that. There's people that love hiking and so on. I know there's some people. When you talk about the beach, I'm the same way. I'll be under the shade. I know what you're talking about. I get it. How about this? Big party or small gathering?
Oh, small gathering.
Yeah, just like little intimate kind of.
100%. That's the introverted part of me talking. Yeah, small gathering, much more comfortable for me.
So big parties. Big parties overwhelm you a little bit?
Oh yes.
Oh, they do.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I'll be the one going, I'm going to go in the kitchen and bake some cookies. don't come talk to me. I'll just bring them out and then I'll run back. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a little tip about hanging out with me, just so you know. I'm from Eastern Canada, and we have all our parties in the house. They're always in the kitchen. They're called kitchen. Just so you know. So you can't come in and you can come in and bake cookies, but you're going to be hanging out with us. Just so you know. We're in the kitchen. That's what we're doing.
That's awesome. Love it. But then it's small. Because you don't have. See,
there's only so many people who get in. I agree, 100%. Okay, how about skydive or bungee jump?
Oh goodness, I'm going to go with skydiving.
Have you done either?
I have not done either, but I would be willing to skydive.
Yeah, me too. I've not done that. I've not done the big bungee jump either, by the way. So either one of those would be anything that scares the daylights out of me.
I'm just going to say, this comes from the medical experience, is I don't want to get maimed. I either want to be alive or dead. I don't want to be maimed. So bungee jumping, I think, has this great risk of like snapping you and breaking you. Whereas if you're going to die skydiving, you're just going to die. You're very unlikely to survive that. So it's a totally dark way to view that. But
no, I understand that. You don't want to be painfully just telling people as you go. You want to. Yeah, yes. I get it. Yes. Okay, how about this documentary or an adventure movie?
Documentary.
That's me. Just so you know.
Yeah,
I love documentaries. Listen, I'm curious. I just want to know. Yeah. I love learning stuff. I just love it. I love adventure movies, but man, a documentary, something about, especially if you really like the subject. I watch documentaries about subjects I'm like, I don't even care about this, but I'm going to learn. I want to learn something. Anyway, get that. Dancing or singing?
Okay, I can do one and I've never done the other, so I'm going to say singing.
So you can sing? You can't dance? You don't like dancing?
I have started taking dance lessons, but I would not qualify myself as a dancer, no.
Oh, good for you. Listen, I've been threatening I have to go do that with my wife. I just said it now, so there you go. I just put
there you go. It's out there now.
You'll be threatening to do that. You know, I'm going to tell. Well, I won't mention why. I won't mention why right now. Tell us too much about myself. How about this? Lots of money and no time, or lots of time and no money?
Lots of time and no money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can always earn more money. You can't earn more time.
I love that. Yeah, and that's so true. I mean, that is, yeah, I mean, time. Gosh, that just the fact that you said that just is so cool. And I'm going to tell you why, because it resonates with me, because I'm so super sensitive with my time. I really am. And gosh, I take it so personally when it's misused, you know. And I try not to do that with other people. So I know I kept you for 90 minutes so far. You say, apparently you don't care about my time, Peter. It's been, it's been 90 minutes.
No, this is my gift to you because I'm enjoying this. So thank you, Peter.
No, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. But time, yes, you can't get more time, right? So I agree with you. You can always make more money. So good, great answer to that. One of my favorite ones, you know this one, but I love it every single time. Hope or freedom?
Hope, because that's internal to you, and as a part of that, you can also choose to be free in your mind, but you can be free out in the world, and if you don't have hope, the quality of life with that, I think, is pretty poor.
Yeah, listen, no right or wrong with that, but I tell you, I'm the same. I think there's something. And it's interesting to hear different perspectives. It really is. And there's no right or wrong. But you're absolutely right. And it brings me back to that old phrase. And I think if you never heard me say it, but I'll say it again because I love it so much that, you know, they say basically a human can live 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and 3 minutes without air, but not 3 seconds without hope. You know? And I just think that's a fascinating way to remind ourselves that, man, when you lose hope, it's not very far to go. There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Lose your freedom, you can always earn it back, maybe, or get it back, or fight for it, or pray for it, whatever you do. But without hope, no, great answer. Appreciate that. All right, finish this sentence for me, my fine friend. I know you'll have a great answer for this, and it's your answer, so it's going to be great. It's simple as that. Finish this sentence for me. I love my life because
I get to be a part of what's good in the world.
Boom. Appreciate that. That's fantastic. It's a great goal for everyone, right? Be part of the solution. You know, just be part of the solution. You know, just be kind. That's why I always end my show with that. Just be kind, everybody. You know, just do something. I know what you mean. Be part of the good in the world. That's a great goal. That's a great goal. Elaine, Jacques, this has been fantastic. It's been a joy and a pleasure to meet you. This is the first time we've actually connected, so it's unbelievable. I see your name on LinkedIn all the time. You're always so supportive of the show, so I just want to tell you so much how much I appreciate that. It means so much to me. It really, really does. I love the things that you post and talk about as well, and your perspective on things is magical. So I hope more people here will reach out to you and connect with you. And hey, don't let the fact that if you speak through your nose, don't reach out to her, just so you know. She doesn't like when she hears the N sound, the M sound, or the NG. Those are the only ones that are supposed to come through the nose. The rest, speak them out. Is that true?
Yes. In English, the only 3 nasal sounds are M, N, and the NG. Singing. That's okay. Those 3 can come out your nose. The rest of it, this is your mouth.
Oh, I love that. When I read that, I was like, holy cow, she is hardcore. I love it. And here we got lots of different, I'm just going to throw up a couple more at the end of the evening here. You guys have been sticking around. Mark Lee, you just been putting up all kinds of so on. And here's one example of it. Yeah, love that answer about time. Yeah, I couldn't agree more about that. And that was a mic drop right there. Absolutely. And Melody knows what I'm talking about. That was boom. That's 3 booms right there. It was a great answer. So yeah, wonderful. So hey, thanks so much, Melody. Appreciate that. Wonderful show for both of you. I can't say enough about this experience for me. It's been amazing to connect with you and meet with you. And I'm going to put it up one more time for everybody here. Let's see if I can find it. Reach out to her. It's the only way.
It's the only way.
I can't find her. I can't find her. Trust me, I can't find her. But I know
anyone could. It would be Peter.
It would be me. But I don't even know where she is now, like geographically. So I'll track you down. Don't worry. I'll get down there someday. Super great to meet with you. And listen, all the best of luck for the future and the continuation for what you're doing. And again, I hope more people connect with you. And just thanks for being part of all the shows and all those things. Super appreciate you.
Thank you so much. This has been my honor and my pleasure to be your guest. You are a fantastic host. And so I am totally honored to have been here and have this fun conversation with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah. And love that rock and roll here. Stick around after the show, even though I always play a video at the end, but stick around. I'll chat with you after. I'd love to chat with you after.
Okay.
And here's the way that I communicate. I'm going to play something at the end here. I thought, what could I play for? I know you've probably seen this video before, but man, I love music and I communicate that way. I don't do it because I'm good at it, because I know where I am on the totem, because I know where I'm at on the totem pole. But there's something magical about music, and it's just that glue. And you talk about communicating with people and body language. I mean, when you're around people and you're playing music and you can feel that they're into what you're doing, or you're into, what someone else is doing, it's magic, body language and facial expressions. And then of course the language is there and so on. So it's all of these things we just talked about, found in one moment in time. And that's why I love music so much. And it's so powerful and it's such a connector for glue. So I'm going to play a quick video here at the end. Here's how I communicate with people. So it's a little trip to Ireland. When I went to Ireland, I took my guitar, and you know me, every pub I went into, I took my guitar and said, "Hey, I'm from Canada." And they were like, "Oh," and then I had 50 new friends, and it was fun. So this is just a couple clips of that. It was like it was just so much fun. So all around the island, every pub I went into, it was magic. It's like communication. And anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Love that.
So good to see you. We'll see you on the other side of this show, and everybody else. You know the old drill. I say it all the time, and I hope it resonates with you. Just be kind out there, everybody. Just be kind. See you, everybody. Take care. Cheers.